Hello, and welcome back to our podcast,
Cut the Headlights.
Today is a very exciting episode because it is our season 2 premiere.
Yes, and it is our first time filming with video. So we've been wanting to do this for a while, but I'm very excited.
Yeah, a little bit scary, but overall
Definitely.
We're very excited to connect in this new format with y'all.
Yeah.
So before we dive into the things that happened at the most recent Australian Grand Prix, we just want to do a little bit of a recap of things that happened over the winter break.
For sure. So, just starting off like crazy, we obviously know we have a lot of rookies, and with that came Jack Doohan. And obviously his contract was announced during the season. But with the exit of Franco Colapinto from Williams, they announced that he was the new Alpine reserve driver. I think we have some mixed feelings about that.
Yeah, I mean, we know the world has been in great support of Franco Colapinto as of recent, but we kind of don't get the hype.
Yeah.
Like, I have nothing against him, and I'm never going to be like, well, I hope he never gets a job in F1 because that seems like cruel. But quite frankly, like, I can't say that I find myself personally rooting for him or personally like emotionally involved with his success in the sport.
I'm still unsure whether or not my dislike. It's not a dislike. I just don't like him. Like, it's not that I have anything against him. I just also don't have much for him. It's very neutral. I just don't really care. But I don't know if that's still just because he took Logan's spot, or just like in general. I feel like he's just very overhyped. I know he made a splash coming in. He did well. What about the rest of the season when he started crashing? Did we all miss that? Like, I think people were acting like, oh my god, like, he's like, Logan's no Franco, like, he's doing so much better. This was such a good choice. Franco crashed multiple times too. Let's be so for real right now. Franco crashed, which is expected. It was his rookie season, basically. But I just think everybody was just glorifying him a little bit too much. I don't think he was that special.
Yeah, for sure. And so it's very interesting now because he's sort of in competition with Jack Doohan, who does have a seat, to keep that Alpine seat.
Yeah, I think Alpine's definitely trying to be like Red Bull, being like, Jack, you've got 5 races, and if you underperform, we're going to replace you with Franco. Like, give him a chance.
Yeah.
You're not Red Bull. It's not okay when Red Bull does it.
100% does not seem fair.
No.
It seems like the rookies are never going to have a chance if they have that in the back of their mind the entire time.
Why are we just setting them up saying they're going to fail, basically?
To fail and learn from their mistakes, and that's not going to happen in the span of 5 races.
Exactly.
Somebody else, however, who was given a lot of time to learn from their mistakes and ultimately just couldn't pull it together was the newly jobless Sergio Perez.
Unfortunately. I say unfortunately. We all know I'm not a fan. He got fired soon into the winter break. I think it was not surprising. We all knew it was coming. We've known for a while Sergio was not making it to the new season with us, unfortunately. It is a shame. I didn't want him off the grid, but I didn't want him at Red Bull. We could put him in like a midfield team. He could go to like Alpine or something.
Yeah, I think he would have done well there. And I feel for him, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. And
he's had a good run.
Yes. Taking his spot, however, though, is someone I like even less than Franco Colapinto, Liam Lawson.
Yeah, I will say everybody has been hating Liam so much recently. They have been like talking about like his political stances, all this stuff, like
political stances.
Yeah, apparently because his girlfriend's American. Apparently she's very right wing, and now they're saying, oh my god, Liam Lawson's a terrible person, all that. But I think like can we not? He's not even American. He's not even American. But also like give him a chance. Like I know he's like been a driver, but like let's not give so much hate to him. Let's give him a little bit of a shot.
Like, here's the thing. Like I'm not gonna go on his Instagram and like leave mean girl comments or anything like that. And I don't want him to fail drastically because I think that's gonna take like such a toll on somebody's like well-being.
Yeah.
But he's so annoying.
I definitely like you can't.
I'm Liam Lawson. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to win. I'm here to flip off drivers at their home races.
That was crazy.
He's so annoying.
Not okay.
And he was like, Liam Lawson said, Daniel Ricciardo, who was also in contention for the Red Bull seat, he said, Daniel was the only person who reached out to me when I got this contract. And some people were like, oh, that shows how good of a person Daniel is. But then other people were like, Jesus Christ,
Like,
Liam
why
must
is
be
nobody
so
congratulating
obnoxious if
him?
nobody else
Yeah.
is reaching
Because
out.
although he was only there for half a season, these people know him. They raced with him in 2023 when he replaced Daniel for a little bit. They raced with him at the end of last season. They know him. And I think he had this attitude last season. There's like, I need to stand out. And if I want Red Bull to take me, they're not going to look at my personality. They're going to look at me as a driver. And I think
it worked.
It worked, clearly. But also, if you think, like, if nobody on the grid likes you, like, did it work? Did it?
I mean, if he's not here to make friends, then I guess so.
It's just like, you're in such a close-knit sport. There's 20 of you. There's 20 of you. Why are you not at least trying to make some connections?
Some drivers that we're really going to miss, though, this season are Valtteri Bottas and Zhou Guanyu. They are different from other drivers who are out of the seat because they're still in the sport, just as reserve drivers. So Valtteri is now at Mercedes, back at his home team.
Yes, I love
and
that he went
Zhou
back.
is actually a Ferrari reserve driver.
That was, okay, like, I have nothing against Zhou, but I was shocked when I saw that. In the nicest way possible. Like, I know he's a good driver, but I was shocked. But in a good way. Like, I'm happy for him. I'm excited to see that. Although I hope he doesn't get to drive because I want Lewis to do okay.
I like him, though. He seems like such a nice guy.
If he has to drive, maybe
I hope
Charles
he's, like,
gets like a
happy
cold
as a
or
person.
something.
Yeah.
But not Lewis.
Not Lewis.
No,
Never Lewis.
Then it's not okay. But I'm excited to see him at that. I do hope he gets like some chance. Like we get to see him in the car. Even if it's not in like an actual race, I'd love to see like his capability in the car.
Agreed. Like and then I think the most recent addition to the grid that we've learned about is Isaac Hajar driving for RB Racing Bulls, Visa Cash App Racing.
Something
Bulls.
like that. I think it's really interesting. I have to say I don't know much about all the rookies this year. Obviously we know Ollie Bierman. I know enough about Kimi, but like the other rookies, I know nothing about them. So I don't know much. I know he's French, right? That's about as far as my knowledge goes. But I'm
for
very
the people
excited.
who are listening on Spotify, I just shrugged because I have no idea about this man.
Not a clue. But I think that's exciting also. I was thinking yesterday, like when we came into the sport, we've never had like rookies. Because although there were rookies in 2023, we'd never seen the grid without them. So it was just normal.
So it was just like, blank slate.
And then last year they were like replacements, but I don't think that was as crazy of a shock. I found myself while I was watching the race, it was at one point, Kimi was with Alex, and I was like, they were like, yeah, Kimi used DRS. I was like, how is he allowed to use DRS? He's not an F1 driver. What are you talking about? Like, what is this kid doing here? You know what I mean? Like, they're all like, they're so young now. They're like close to our age, which I don't appreciate. It makes me feel
strange,
very untalented and unaccomplished.
We're so behind.
Yeah. I was watching, I was like, these people are F1 drivers, and I'm building an F1 Lego while watching them. But, anyways, back to my point, like, I cannot comprehend the fact that these people are actually on the grid now. And not in a mean way that it's like, oh, they don't deserve to be here.
It seems like surreal.
I genuinely cannot believe that these people are trusted in actual F1 cars, and they are in charge of being a Formula One driver now.
That's how I feel about Lewis Hamilton at Ferrari. It's not like, oh, I don't like it at all. It's just like, I physically like cannot believe that he is at Ferrari. I can't believe he wears a red race suit now. I can't believe his helmet is this new sort of yellow instead of his classic like purple with the little rainbow. Like, it's nothing bad. It's just, it's surreal. Like, I can't, like, my mind can't comprehend that he's like a Ferrari driver now. Like, he's not teammates with George. He doesn't work for Toto Wolff. It's so strange.
I think I've gotten around to that one just because I'm a Lewis fan. I've loved all the photos. I think it's kind of sunk in more, but just the rookies, I can't. Why are we letting you in an F1 car? Please no.
No. And something that's going to get even weirder next year that I don't love is the addition of a new team entirely.
Which means even more rookies.
I hate this with a passion because 11 teams is so uneven. 22 teams is, 22 people is like gross.
It's not a nice number.
It kind of, when there was only 20 drivers, it gives an added feeling of exclusivity. If you keep adding drivers,
2 more people, it's not exclusive anymore.
If you allow people to pay to add a whole team, where does it end? No, only 20 drivers. only 20 drivers, 10 teams. I don't want Cadillac here, but something I'm gonna have to make my peace with.
You can tell she's thought a lot about this. I will say I don't have that strong of feelings for it. I'm excited to see who drives because also a lot of people like it was very as much as I hated it, like it was very interesting to see all the changes to the grid this year. And next year a lot of people have contracts like that are continuing. So I think it'll be exciting to see like the new people. I think it'll be exciting to be there for the 11th team. Like it'll be fun.
It'll definitely be exciting to see who gets hired, but
Logan Sargent, he's available. I'm just saying, American team, American driver, he's not spoken for.
Did he just quit all of motor racing?
Not officially. So this is not Formula One news related, but his I don't know, remember what he's racing for. I don't keep up with the other racing series, but they announced following the decision of Logan Sargent to take a step back from racing, we'll announce our new driver soon. What? What do you mean Logan Sargent's decision to take a step back from racing?
I hope Kevin Magnussen comes back.
I would love that.
I'm a fan of his.
He seems pretty happy right now, though. But yeah, Logan made no announcement. He just keeps posting stories on boats. So
living the life.
This is he's taking a break to prepare for Cadillac.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. And then another thing is Oscar Piastri just recently extended his contract at McLaren. So he's one of the most exciting like players in the game at this moment because he's so talented. He's in an amazing car, and he's still really young. So it's very interesting to see him like continue with that loyalty.
Hard to hear going from talking about Logan's failures. But anyways, yeah, I'm very excited. I saw something that after his contract expires or something, him and Lando will be like the longest teammate pairing on the grid or something. Which I feel like seems unrealistic. Like they have not been teammates for that long. But I guess 2026, that's 4 seasons. So it's possible. But I love that. I love them as a duo. I think it's great. I hope there's less tension this year now that like Lando seems to be like less like, oh, I need to win everything. He seemed like a lot more back down to earth.
That we know of thus far.
That we've seen, true. We've barely started the season, but
one of my personal favorite side quests that happened over the winter break was Esteban Ocon.
Oh my god, yes.
The movie star.
Yes, I saw this TikTok one day of him in a Netflix like movie trailer. And I stopped and I was like, what am I watching right now? I thought it was fake. So I literally went onto Netflix. I found the movie. I went to the part where they show you the cast. He was there. I don't know how major of a role he has. I don't think he's like a major character.
I don't think so either. That would be quite.
I don't know, but I know some part of it takes place in like F1. Maybe like one of the main characters like works for them or something. But he is fully in the movie, which I love for him.
Right? That's pretty exciting. Something a little bit less exciting is some new FIA regulations have been introduced. And here's the kicker. Now, if you break them, they can actually deduct world championship points away from you, which is so absurd. Yeah. I understand why they have some of them in place, like even if I think some of them go too far. But at the end of the day, I don't think that should step into their actual success as drivers.
Agreed. I think like the rules themselves haven't changed that much. It's still like no swearing, no expressing political or religious things or anything like that, which is so stupid. Like, come on. But yeah, so now they have like they had it like lined out with like the first offense, the second offense, and by the third offense, you get not only like a 30,000 euro fine, like a suspension. They can deduct championship points, and it doesn't say, oh, we'll take away 1 point. I think, from my understanding, it's like up to their discretion. So if they feel like you did a really bad job, maybe you get 10 points off. I don't know. It didn't specify, but it did say they can deduct championship points, which I think is crazy because
these things should not have a say in who wins like a world championship.
Yeah, a driver expressing like their religious thing affects nothing about the sport. It's outside their own thing. So you're gonna say, oh, there's what about the Secret Santa? That's religious. Are we gonna take away their points for that now? Like,
no, yeah. If there's a driver they don't like, can they just be like, well, he was wearing a cross necklace at practice.
Offensive.
So let's take, like,
doesn't Lewis Hamilton have like a giant cross tattoo?
He has an enormous cross tattoo.
So is he just never, he's gotten, for that, he's had that for years. I think that's more than one offense by this point. So it's just, I feel like it's hard to regulate that when these drivers are still people. Yeah. And if it were like, okay, during race weekends in your press interviews, we'd like you to remain professional. Please, like, refrain from swearing if you can. Like, there are people who, like, it's a professional setting. Okay, fine, you can say that. But when you're saying, like, all the time, like, no.
Yeah, like you can't control how these people live their lives outside of racing.
I don't know.
Someone who probably does not love that is Helmut Marko, who loves to pick and choose what drivers he chooses to antagonize at any given weekend. Most recently, his victim, Brazilian driver Gabriel Bortoleto.
I have to say, they all have a continent in common. So
that's Latin America.
Yeah, that's not a continent, but that is an area.
Like region.
That's a
sorry.
Region. Yeah. What did he say to Sergio again?
I don't know.
He's made very racist comments about Sergio while he drove for his team. But recently with Gabriel Bortoleto, like at the beginning of the race weekend, he called him a B-list driver, which you don't know anything about him. Because then he like clapped back and he was like, I don't know what he's saying. Everybody's entitled to their own opinions, but I do know that I won Formula 3 and Formula 2 as a rookie. So I'm just going to prove him wrong, which I love how he handled that. Proving like, what do you mean I'm a B-list driver? I won F2 as a rookie. And there are multiple really good drivers on the grid right now who also won F2 as a rookie. And look at that.
What a baddie. Honestly, I love to see that.
I know. And like, obviously, like he's not at a top team, but I mean, they've been doing, so far, they've not been doing terribly.
Yeah,
we'll get to his results of the race.
It's okay to say he's at a B-list team. His car isn't as fast as some of the other people.
Exactly.
But you don't know this driver. All you know about this driver is, like Tori said, he's a proven champion in the past.
Exactly.
So why are you saying these things before the season even starts?
Exactly. It was just, but I love how he responded, being like, you're welcome to your own opinions, but I'm going to prove that that's wrong this season.
I really like him.
I love it.
He's one of my favorite rookies, honestly. Like, I don't know much about him, but like, he just gives me such good vibes. Like, Liam Lawson.
Yeah. I just like that he's from Brazil. My mom was born there, so, you know, have to have like some like sort of hometown pride. So
my parents were born in Mexico City, and she still hated on Sergio Perez all of last year. All of it.
Look, I've established he's just not my favorite. I'm sorry, but
anyways, transitioning into the actual
my family
race
is French.
Weekend.
You hated on Pierre Gasly.
But then he went to a Spurs
Two
game.
Can play at that game.
Two
can play at that game.
Now, moving on to the actual race weekend in Australia, a lot of interesting things to see as the new season began.
It was a very exciting start to the season for sure. So first off, we got the new F1 intro, which, you know, always exciting, but they changed the graphics. I think they're trying to do something different for like their 75th year, and I respect that. It's an anniversary year, go for it, do something special. But the fonts they are using and the style they're going for looks like they've just bought a subscription to Canva Premium and given their graphic designer full reign of the font catalog in Canva. It's weird.
I absolutely detest the little graphics that show how many positions they've moved up or down since the beginning of the race because they're so thin and the colors are duller. It's really hard to tell and to read. And I don't like how they didn't put the distance between one driver to the next as much either. That's what makes the race. To eliminate that makes it so much more confusing. It's very frustrating.
For sure. I mean, like I said, I was building a Lego yesterday, so I wasn't exactly keeping up with the live timing as much as I normally do. But I agree. The graphics were definitely very different, and a lot of people were complaining. Like, I was looking on, like, their comments, the comments on an Instagram post they made yesterday, and every comment was, give us the live timing. Where is the timing? Like, give us this back. Because it's cool, because when you see a driver close to each other, I always look at the time. If it's like my driver who I want to win in front, I'm always watching like, oh my god, thank goodness, like they're getting a couple seconds farther back.
And it's exciting. If they get too close to another one, it's like, oh my god, they're at 0.4 now.
Exactly.
Oh my god, they're at 0.3 now.
Like, the live timing is so great. It literally like disappeared. So I saw some people saying that they were having like some issues with it. So okay, if it's fixed by next race and it's back to normal, all fine. Good. I understand you had technical difficulties. Also, I don't. It's your 75th year. It's been fine every other year. But I did like they had this new graphic when people were under investigation. It also disappeared partway through, but it was like a little box next to their name with like a yellow background and an exclamation mark. I appreciated that because sometimes when there's a lot of people under investigation, I forget who's who.
Yeah, it was smart, definitely. It was a little hard to see just because it was so small.
Yeah.
But like, it was
good. And also, like, this is more superficial, but like in the intro, I hate the fonts they use.
I like it. I like the little.
I hate the font, and I thought
it's like a little cursive-y, and then like their first name is cursive, and like their last name is in print.
Not my favorite.
Like I didn't hate it. It was like niche reference, but like, do you remember the Avengers Endgame end credits?
Not that much.
Well, they were like cursive-y, like they like everyone like signed their names and then their like name was like in print, and it kind of reminded me of that. I thought that was cute.
I don't know. It wasn't my favorite, but I was like, I can get over it for the intro. And then it was everywhere. Everywhere. Like in all their graphics. In like when they were talking about the grid order before, everywhere.
Very annoying.
It wasn't my favorite. There was a really big change in the graphics. I was a fan of them before, but that's okay.
In better news, though, this is very exciting. Esteban Ocon is now the first driver in Formula One history to have a female race engineer.
Yes.
Which is so cool.
That was.
That's like never happened before. He was like talking on the radio and they were showing the radio message.
And it was a woman's voice.
And then there was a girl's voice. I was like,
it like threw me off for a second, but I was like, wait, this is so good. Like it threw me off, but in a good way. Also, it's just like, how can everybody hate him? Look at him.
So over
how
the
Esteban
Ocon hate.
He's like such a sweetie.
He
Obviously,
is.
we don't know him. But from what you see, like, I'm not sure where you're getting all this hate from.
We know him just as much as everybody who hates on him knows him. And so with the information we all share,
how can you hate him?
How can you hate that man? And then, however, his teammate had a bit of a struggle this weekend. Ollie Behrman, new rookie, even though he did race last year when Carlos Sainz had appendicitis and he took his place at Ferrari, and when Kevin Magnussen had a race ban, and he took his place there. But now he's here full time as an official driver, and it was kind of got off to a rough start.
Yeah. Personally, this year, Ollie Behrman is my favorite rookie. I really grew to like him a lot last year.
The betrayal to Kimi is insane.
It's true. But you know, I just really grew to like him, and I was so excited for him. You know, I love it. I'm here for it. I love the logo too. It's great. Yeah. Unfortunately, it was a rough race. It was raining all weekend. The Formula 2 feature race before that literally got canceled because it was raining so bad. So many people spun out. We'll get to that. But they spent so much time under a safety car. It was a hectic race for sure, but he did not do great. He was lapped almost all the time, and he finished in last place. Out of the people who stayed in the race, he finished last place.
That he did. However, in terms of qualifying alone, some other people had a really good start. Yeah. So while that was unfortunate for him,
unlike Ollie, he also crashed in FP1 and didn't qualify
which destroyed everything.
He had a gearbox issue.
But although Ollie had a very difficult time in qualifying, other people, however, had really good surprises. Some people included Alex Albon and Yuki Tsunoda, who easily qualified in the top 10, which is a very rare sighting. They qualified ahead of both Ferraris, which was very impressive.
Where did Carlos qualify?
10th.
Oh, okay. So not as great. I thought he qualified better, but
he had some floor issues during qualifying.
The Williams have been doing well all weekend. It was crazy. Like their speed and like practice sessions and qualifying was great.
So it's just very exciting to see that these like midfield teams have the strength and the speed to challenge some of these top contenders. Like everyone can always think of like these like big four teams. Normally it's Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari, and McLaren. Not necessarily in that order, but that's normally what you think of when you think of people who can fight for wins. And the fact that now there's other people who can is pretty darn cool.
Where was this for Logan? He could have won. He could have won yesterday.
Past our Logan delusion, however.
Okay. That's okay.
Isaac Hajar, who we previously mentioned, his race began quite roughly when he crashed during the formation lap.
Actually, before that even, it began well. He qualified 11th. He qualified best out of any of the rookies. Liam Lawson had some troubles. He qualified 18th, which is, you're in a Red Bull. Let's be so real. This is not your first race. This is not your rookie race. Kimi Antonelli struggled. I mean, the other rookies didn't do terribly, but Isaac Hadjar was 11th. He was really close.
Which probably makes what happened all the more disappointing. It was so sad. After he crashed, he was like crying all the way back to the paddock.
Yeah.
But it actually brought one of like the sweetest moments in the weekend, however, because Lewis Hamilton's father, Anthony Hamilton, saw him like crying and like went up to him and like hugged him and like spoke to him for a little bit to try and inspire him because I mean, he has seen the highest highs and lowest lows of this sport through his son. So like I'm sure he was very sympathetic to see another person going through this.
For sure. And I think it was just like so touching because it's like it's not his dad. It's like it's not his son. He doesn't owe anything to him, but he saw that he was struggling and he knows like I can do something to help. Especially like Lewis Hamilton's his hero, and he's made that very clear. Like he looks up to Lewis Hamilton so much, and having his dad like come to you in a time like that is really nice. I think especially it had to like really mean a lot because it's his rookie race, his first ever race, and he doesn't even start.
Even though it was so promising at the beginning.
Yeah, we'll get to it later. Not all the rookies did well in the end, but he was the first like major thing. Oh my god, Isaac Hatcher just crashed. And it wasn't even like fully his fault. Like it was, but also the track was super rainy and slippery. They hadn't warmed up their tires, so it's understandable why he crashed. And it's not like a crazy, oh my god, you suck, you're such a terrible driver, get off the grid. It's a mistake that many other people made. But it's just got to be like really disheartening, especially also because I like noticed he was walking off when Lewis Hamilton's dad was talking to him. There were cameras all around them. Obviously, the camera was on him because we saw him, but there were like 6 other cameras following him as he was clearly crying and in such a terrible mood and so upset. And I was like, I feel terrible for him.
Agreed.
He's like 20 and he's in this amazing position. He's got this great chance, and there's cameras watching him in a terrible start to his career. I felt awful.
Yeah.
I wanted to cry for him.
I did too, so but I'm sure he felt much better in a little bit when Jack Doohan crashed eventually too. Soon followed by Carlos.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there'll be more later. But at the beginning of the race alone, there was so much commotion, which was interesting for a second, but like
it got a little
normally
slow.
When someone crashes, it's like, oh my god, I can't believe that just happened. But when everyone keeps crashing, it's so dull because like half of the race ends up being under a safety car, meaning all the cars have to go slowly and can't really overtake. And it's so boring.
Yeah. So what ended up happening was, again, Jack spun out. It's his rookie race. It's not like a crazy thing, which I feel so bad also because it's his home race. And nobody's talking about the fact that it's his home race. They're all focused on Oscar, and everybody's saying, oh my god, he's going to be replaced by Franco. That has to suck. I felt terrible for him. So that was on lap 1. And then by lap 2, Carlos was also out. So
Carlos crashed under Jack's safety car.
Oh, there we go.
Kind of annoying.
Yeah, so we're already 2 laps in with our formation lap. We've got 3 people out. And they were talking about it on like the commentary. The reason it was taking so long to get the cars out and why the safety car was so long was because Albert Park, I think that's the circuit, right? That's one of the circuits. I think it's this one. It's like not a permanent track. So they don't have a lot of like the side roads to get cars off quickly. So it ends up taking them a lot more time to clear all the damage and the debris because they can't really maneuver like behind where the drivers are going. So yeah, it made it very inconvenient. There was so many laps under the safety car. I think we got like maybe 5 laps with actual DRS enabled between a combination of, oh, we have a safety car and oh, it's raining.
Which was a very frustrating beginning to the season. However, some bright moments came in some Ferrari radio messages that were really entertaining. Yeah. Charles Leclerc,
entertaining in a good way,
at one point was on the radio complaining. He was like, is there a leakage? And the guys were like, what are you talking about? And he's like, is there a leakage? My seat filled with water. And the radio guys goes, maybe it's the water. And Charles Leclerc gagged, goes, yeah, let's just add that to the words of wisdom.
Yeah. I think that moment was incredibly entertaining. But some of the radio messages from Ferrari were a little hard to hear as somebody whose favorite driver now goes to Ferrari and kind of made this really big, crazy move. Lewis and his new race engineer, I think, were like struggling to get into like a groove, which of course makes sense because him and Bono were together for so many years. You have to get used to that, and you have to just do that all over again with a completely different person. But it was really awkward because I think his race engineer like kept trying to like talk to him and everything, and he was like, "Dude, let me drive. Just stop talking to me." He was so
polite though. He kept being like, "Leave me alone, please."
Yeah, he
leave me alone, please.
All of his radio messages were either like just obviously normal radio messages or stop talking to me, like let me focus on driving. And I think it's just really interesting to see that dynamic, not in a good way, in a very bad way, because it did not seem great. But I'm hopeful that it will improve.
Yeah. After that, we lost another driver, Fernando Alonso. This one probably made a few people feel a lot better about themselves, knowing that one of the most experienced driver on the entire grid also fell victim to these horrible conditions. And then another person who, he didn't crash, but it was so unfortunate, was Oscar Piastri. He was like in second place. He had been fighting for a win nearly the entire race, and at one corner, Lando Norris went off a little bit, and then Oscar did too, but Lando was able to get back on track smoothly, and
Oscar went off
went
just to go way
all
off
the
again.
way off again. And it was very unfortunate because, like we said, it's his home race, hometown hero,
Yeah.
and it was pretty disheartening.
I was shocked. I was looking at like
Me too.
the graphics.
I gasped. I was like, "Ugh."
My jaw dropped. I sat there. I was like keeping my cat updated on all the commentary because my mom was watching with me and then she left, so I felt lonely. So I was talking to my cat and I was like, Gunther, do you know what just happened? I was shocked. I look at like the standings on the side, everything was moving and it wouldn't stop. Like at one point, George was in the lead, Lewis was up there, Yuki was up there, and then Max was up there. It was crazy. But I felt so bad for Oscar. He was doing like such a good job.
Yeah.
He really was. Like I thought he was gonna get a podium. But it was also really nice to see the crowd like cheering for him. He was trying to like reverse
the second
his car.
he got back on track, the crowd went wild, which was like, I'm sure, a lovely show of support. But from that moment on, the race got so entertaining as Lando Norris and Max Verstappen were fighting for a win. But also with the rain that took out Oscar, it also took out Liam Lawson and Gabriel Bortoleto, which just
all our rookies, even the rookie who's not a rookie.
Exactly, we're just getting swept away by the rain, which is sad. But it let other rookies like Ollie Behrman, but especially Kimi Antonelli, display their strength.
Yeah, I think Ollie, I'm not surprised. We've seen him in the car. We've seen him get 7th on his debut race. I don't think anybody was surprised that he was able to stay in, especially, he was driving in Brazil. And that was such a crazy race. Like, we know he can do that. But Kimi, for his first race ever, especially after a really rough start to the weekend, also just rough start in general. Last year, when he drove in FP1 for Mercedes, he crashed. And this year when he drove an FP1 for Mercedes, actually as their driver, he crashed. He did not qualify well. But he ended up the race in 4th place. So there was a little thing with a penalty and then Alex Albon, but it was repealed. And he ended up in 4th on his debut race. And I love that for him.
That was honestly fantastic because George Russell, his teammate from Mercedes, ended up in 3rd, meaning that, Lando Norris ended up winning the fight between him and Max Verstappen for the win, and Oscar Piastri finished the race in like 9th. So with these combined statistics, McLaren and Mercedes are now tied for the World Constructors' Championship, which is the teams themselves, like not the drivers to see who gets the most points, but the teams as a total. So that makes things very exciting because I think everybody probably thought it was going to be like McLaren and Ferrari maybe, but like to start off with like such like a headstrong tie makes things very entertaining. I'm excited to see where that goes because it shows that both teams have these really strong driver pairings. Just because one of them has a rookie does not make them any less of a threat.
And I think especially just because like we saw what Kimi could do in the rain. Like imagine him in like a really great race. Like I'd love to see. I feel like definitely points on his debut is great. I think a podium would be close.
True. Of course, however, it could be the other way around. It could be that a lot of teams messed up their strategy when it came to the rain, and honestly, Mercedes was on it. And so I think this first race, it did show us a lot about their capabilities, but also
it's hard to
the
judge
rain is such an equalizer that it's hard to be like, well, they did really well, so they're going to do well the entire season because you don't know like how this could have affected it all.
For sure, that part, at least just knowing like he can drive in those terrible conditions when everybody is slipping. Like so many people were spinning, almost spinning. So I think it was just impressive that he managed to stay on the track. One team who did not end up well with the rain was Ferrari. After the whole thing with Oscar going to the bottom and stuff, they looked like they were in a good position, but they messed up their strategy. Once again, who's surprised? And they pit a lap too late, didn't have good tires at that point, and it did not work out. And they ended up in like 10th and 8th?
Something like that.
Nothing good.
One thing that was cool, however, though, with team strategies was at Williams, after Carlos Sainz was out, it was actually revealed that he was helping the team make strategy decisions for Alex Albon's race, which is a lovely sign of sportsmanship between the two. And it's just really special to see that because I think when Carlos had to find a new team, he definitely wanted one that would value him. And so just showing how ingrained he is behind the decisions that Williams makes definitely makes it exciting to see their teamwork
I think he
together.
got all that strategy experience from being at Ferrari and having to rely on himself for that. But yeah, I think it's interesting because I mean, I think everybody was shocked, and I don't think in a good way when he announced he was going to Williams, especially knowing that Red Bull was a possibility for him. Uh, but I think so far it's been great. They've got a good car this year. He's been showing a lot of potential. He's doing really well, and yeah, I thought that was so sweet. Like, your race is ruined. You might as well at least not only for the team but for your friend. I think that was so cute.
For sure, agreed. Just to finish it out with the race recap, I was really happy because George Russell and Max Verstappen were both on the podium and they like shook hands and everything after the race. So it's like I'm hoping this means that their beef is sort of squashed. There was this interview and they were both sitting there because again they were on the podium and they asked them, they were like, so how are things between the two of you? Like, are y'all good again or is it still awkward? And Max, like, as a joke, he was just so done with the reporters. He grabbed the mic and he was like, no, it's so bad. It's as bad as it can be, really.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It was so funny.
And like they both started giggling and so it was like a cute moment. I still think it was kind of awkward, so I don't think it's like they've totally regained their friendship, but I think they regained some sort of mutual respect for each other.
Agreed. I think the media just like twisted it so much, and for them it's like, we've been over this for a while. Let's just like, it's funny. Like, this is a funny thing that happened between us. Like, they can laugh about it now, and I love that. Max, in general, like this whole weekend was so funny with the reporting. There was one part where they asked him and Oscar a question, and Oscar goes on this long rant, and Max sits there and goes, "Thanks, I agree. I'll just hire you to just do all my press for me." It was so funny. And also another one, there was this guy going around the paddock asking the drivers like random questions, and they asked Max, "Who would win if we drove backwards?" And he was like, "I don't know, and I don't really care," and just walked away. And I love it. I love how unbothered he is. Like, he's at the top. He's doing great. He's so successful. He doesn't care.
Yeah, he's just not had time for all these stupid like questions. People trying to intervene in his life. He's just there to race. And you know what? That's admirable. He's just on his own vibe.
Yeah. Plus,
but
real quick, I was gonna say I feel like a lot of like the fun PR is like between like teammates. And based on what we've heard about Liam Lawson, I'm not sure how likely that is.
Yeah.
So
But with Max Verstappen not winning the race marks the first time in a very long time that someone other than him has led the World Drivers'
I think it was like 63 races, or it was a big number.
That's a very unsettling statistic. I don't know like how I feel about it. Not to be like I want the Max dominance era back, but like I don't know, like it's just kind of become a constant that Max is gonna win this drivers' championship. Like I'm kind of gonna miss it.
True, but I think it's a constant I'm ready to see go. And I'm not just saying that because Lando won the race and now he's in the lead, but like genuinely, I feel like it'll be so good to see somebody else. I am sad though. I think Lando got the fastest lap, and they did remove the fastest lap point. So he got no extra advantage because of that, which I think is so stupid. It wasn't hurting anybody. But
yeah, it's just one thing about that is like I'm happy for Lando, but I really don't want it to be like let's swap out this Max dominance for a Lando dominance.
For sure.
Like I hope there's like at one point Max gets number one in the drivers' championship, and then it switches, and I hope somebody else. Like
yeah, like I want it to be interesting.
Obviously, I hope it's one of my favorite drivers else, but like
Lewis Hamilton
even
makes
if
his
it's
comeback.
not, like I want there to be like 5 drivers in the lead at one point. Like I just want it to be exciting, and like you never know what's gonna happen.
Especially since last season, like we've already gotten such a big change, at least in race winners. I'm excited to see that, but in the championship. I was thinking to myself yesterday, I was like, when Max was about to like pass Lando a couple times, I was like, man, I really don't want Max to win. But I realized like it's nothing I have against him. It's just the memory from like 2023 of him just winning every race is like so ingrained in my mind, and it's like I don't want that. But also I was like realizing that's not what we have anymore. The last half of last season was nothing like that at all. But I think it's just like still like so ingrained in my memory of just like Max is
there's
probably
always
gonna
a fear
win
you can go back to
and
it.
it's just so exciting when somebody other than Max wins that it still feels like Singapore 2023 to me. I'm like, this is life changing.
That's so true. But yeah, overall, it was a very exciting race weekend.
Very interesting way to start off the season.
Agreed.
Maybe not the best for some drivers, but
there's so much more to see.
Yeah, and it was tough conditions. Like, it's understandable, but I think it'll be really exciting to see.
Now it is time for our signature driver song connections. We have our Taylor Swift flag in the background,
upgrading our
to
set.
inspire us through this.
Sure.
We're only going to do one today because we've had a lot to talk about, just including the winter break and this very exciting race. But we're very excited because today we're going to get to talk about a driver that we don't really feature very often, Fernando Alonso.
Yeah.
And I just love talking about him in the same context as Taylor Swift because,
oh my God,
during
Alonso,
the 2023 season, when all the rumors about them dating were flying about, and he got into it. I mean, he was posting TikToks to her song.
I was so going like with it. I thought it was hilarious. I wonder if Taylor knew.
I hope Taylor knows.
Like,
I hope she knows.
Is she? I wonder like how much she knows about like F1 enough to be like, yeah, this guy Fernando Alonso.
Isn't Travis Kelce an investor in Alpine?
I think so. Yeah. So she has to know to some capacity, like who he is and what happened, and I love that.
Agreed. But we're going to talk about him in the context of Nothing New today, which is one of her fault songs from Red Taylor's version. And it's just a really beautiful song, kind of about coping with aging and realizing maybe you're not like the newest, shiniest thing anymore, but like still finding your value in that. Mm-hmm. So the chorus of the song goes, "Will you still want me when I'm nothing new?" And so this is just in relation to, I mean, everybody has seen his journey over the past 20-something years and how he's grown and developed. But, I mean, he used to be like a hot item in the driver's market. And now, don't get me wrong, he's good at his job, especially for his age.
He's just not like standing out.
He's not someone that teams are dying to sign.
Yeah, I had something to say. Okay, I was gonna say, like, especially just going from like, yeah, he's like won championships, but you don't see him standing out now. And I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily, but it's got to be very different from being the reigning champion to the rookie, just another driver, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Honestly, I'm really sad that I got into F1 during like the second half of the 2023 season, because I would have loved to have been there during the first half when Fernando
I forgot that happened.
Consistently getting podiums. Because like, hell yeah, like I would have loved to see that happen.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. I watched F1 the first half of the season, and I do vaguely remember that. And I don't think I realized how monumental that was when I saw it.
Because not only was he getting podiums, he was like consistently projected to get podiums.
He was doing really, really well. And then I started being like shocked when he didn't get podiums. But I think now I'd be shocked if he got the podium. But I love that for him. Like, I love that he's like still like doing such a good job. That's so impressive. He's like, what, like 43 or something?
Something like that. But I'm really here for that. And then another lyric says, "Are we only biding time till I lose your attention and someone else lights up the room?" And that is just kind of reiterating the same thing we've been saying, that like everybody talks about like these new players. Like, I mean, before it used to be Max Verstappen, now it can be people like Oscar Piastri or Kimi Antonelli. Like, everyone's searching for the next big thing, but they don't really value experience and consistently as much. And I mean, are we only betting time till I lose your attention? I mean, if we had started this podcast at the beginning of 2023, we probably would have talked about him a lot more. But even now, we don't discuss him that much. Most people don't.
When she was telling me, we were discussing before this, like what driver song connection to do. She goes, the last one she says to Fernando, and I was like, what? I don't think we've ever like thought about that at all. And I love that. But also, it's just like F1, we've said, is just so competitive. It's so like there's not so many spots. There's so few spots. There's not a lot of opportunities to shine. It's got to be hard when you're just kind of, you're doing a good job, but you know that there's new talent every day that people are talking about, and that's not you.
For sure, 100%. Fun fact, I have another song about Fernando in my notes app, and I've had it for like a really long time. It's never been like that concrete, so I've never suggested it.
Later in the season, he'll show up.
Maybe. And then the bridge says, "I know someday I'm gonna meet her. It's a fever dream, the kind of radiance you only have at 17. She'll know the way, and then she'll say she got the map from me. I'll say I'm happy for her, then I'll cry myself to sleep." And in this scenario, please change all the female pronouns to male ones.
Oh.
But it just kind of relates. Like, I mean, how old is Kimi Antonelli?
18.
18.
He's
So
a year and a half and a
almost
day older
17.
than me.
Probably met him when he was 17, so that even fits even better. But just like this youth, this brightness, and like he's so experienced, so he can like help people along. Even like his teammate Lance Stroll, which I'm a really big fan of their friendship, honestly, because
They have such a cute bond.
they have kind of a rapport where it's not like, oh, like the old guy and the new guy, and it's not like the teacher and the student. It's just kind of like they're friends and they're equals, and like they both learn from each other, which is, I think, really cute. And so
Nobody talks about them enough. It's amazing.
Right?
I love their like teammate duo, or whenever like Fernando's like sitting there like taking photos of Lance. It's so cute.
they're precious.
I love
I'm
it.
so into them. So it just really relates to that kind of like yeah, like I'm so down here to be like the teacher and help everybody else forward and share my experience, but also like that doesn't mean I'm ready to just be moved aside. So it's just kind of these things. And in the outro it says, I wonder if they'll miss me once they drive me out. And I just love when Taylor Swift songs say like drive or car, like even if
Talk
it
about
doesn't mean it in
perfect
that
connection.
literal sense,
Yeah.
it just makes it more fun. But and I wonder if they'll miss me once they drive me out. Like he's been a character in the sport for so long. The second that teams don't really want him anymore or aren't really willing to pay for his experience anymore, or even if he just doesn't want to be part of it anymore, wants to settle down, like I wonder if people are going to miss that they didn't appreciate actually getting to see him, even if it wasn't in his prime anymore, but still getting to see him race.
Also, I have to say, it's so crazy that Kimi Antonelli was literally born the year that Fernando Alonso won his second championship. And I think Ollie was born the first time, right? Because I think he's a year older.
Something like that.
That's crazy. They're on the grid with somebody who was winning the world championship when they were born.
Agreed.
Insane.
And that's, like, don't get me wrong, people like Lewis Hamilton are amazing and deserve all the veneration that they receive.
But he never, like, gets
But why is no one like, oh, I'm here to see Fernando, my hero. I love Fernando. I looked up to him, like,
just because
put
he
some
won his
respect on his
championships
name.
in, like, 2005 and
just because there didn't happen to be as many of them as 7.
Yeah, that's still 2 back-to-back championships. That's a great feat.
So
Also,
cool.
just like managing, I know he like took his time out of the sport for a little bit, but managing to stay like in the sport at a not terrible team. I feel like they're like you don't hear about them, but Aston Martin's like a solid midfield team.
Agreed, they're consistent.
Exactly. Like that's just so impressive, the fact that he's been able to like just stay there and do that. I love it.
Yeah.
Also, I was thinking while we were talking, Lewis Hamilton is like 2-3 years younger than him.
Yeah,
which is
it's
I did
really
not think of them
that big a difference, and yet people treat them wildly different on surrounding their age.
I understand why though, because even I made that connection in my mind and I was like, whoa. But I mean, it's just because Fernando Alonso, as great as he is, though, you can't deny his prime was 2005, when he was winning his championships. And Lewis Hamilton's prime, when he was winning his championships, not only lasted longer, but was a lot more recent. I mean, he was 2021. That's so recent. So I think it just kind of like makes him seem younger in a sense, because it's like, look at him, like, yeah, he's one of the older drivers, he's still like winning.
Yeah.
But that's crazy. I cannot believe they're so similar in age.
It is very similar. But yeah, I was excited to share this one just to honor Fernando a little bit, put some respect on his name, and just kind of like the way older people are treated in all sports, honestly. The way they're just kind of like discarded as the age. And so the fact that he's still doing this so prominently is pretty cool.
Yeah. He's so funny while he does it too. Like, he doesn't have the mentality of a 42-year-old.
No, he's just
whatsoever.
Honest. He's there for himself.
There was a photo of him this weekend just sitting on the couch, like straight, and he's got this hat on his head, and it's like a giant hat, and he's just sitting there. And I love it. He's so funny. It's really great. Funny. Like, he may not actually be young, but like, he's young at heart. I love that.
So yeah, this one's for Fernando.
And then just to finish it off, I know we usually do like a game, but this time we're just going to talk about like some of the things we're excited for as the season goes on, favorite things. Yeah. I think the most superficial, like least important one we have here, we can just start off with his favorite livery.
Okay.
This one's my favorite personally. I love looking at the liveries.
Yeah. Like number 3.
Yeah. So I didn't think of the order. Okay, I have my order. Sorry.
Okay.
My third favorite is Alpine.
My third favorite is RB.
Okay, solid choice. That is a beautiful car.
It is.
Beautiful. I love the Alpine. I love that they're giving us pink. I really appreciate that,
Always
especially
fancy.
after the drama last year when they teased pink camo and there was no pink camo on their car. As a pink fan, I was very disappointed by that. But I love the car. I love the colors. I think it's great.
My number 2 is Kick Sauber. For a
Interesting.
similar reason, I just love when cars stand out. Like, I love pink too. That's my favorite color. Our mics are pink. My flag is pink. I have so many pink clothes. But something about a lime green, like
It's
just
great.
running across the track, it feels so electric. It feels so race car-y, and it definitely helps them stand out. So I really like their livery.
I didn't know how I felt about the color first when they like switched over. I love it so much. When I was like buying all my F1 Legos, using all my birthday money, I bought that one. I was like, I need this car because it's just so fun. My second favorite is Haas.
Really?
This one really surprised me when I saw it, but I thought the car looked so pretty. Like, it wasn't standout colors. It wasn't, but the design of it, I just thought was stunning. I loved it so much.
Cute one. My number 1 is Ferrari. It's a classic, just the red race car, and I love the shade of red they use. It's
I
like
love
a
the darker
deeper
red.
thing.
It's gorgeous.
And it has
It's
more of a
gorgeous.
matte finish than like a
Mhm.
shiny glossy one. I think it's gorgeous. It looks so classy. It looks so well done, and I'm just such a big fan.
My only problem with that livery is the HP logo. But I was literally telling my mom yesterday, like, that red they chose, beautiful. It makes it feel like classier.
Yeah.
Sorry. My top one is RB. I think I
Really?
surprised myself with my top favorites because none of these are like my favorite teams at all.
Yeah.
But I love the car. I love the white. I think it's so
It feels very
cool.
summery in a way.
It does. And I just think it's so nice because all the cars have black on them. All of, like, even like Sauber with their bright green has black. But I love that they put so much white on their car. I thought it was just so pretty. And it really stood out yesterday when I was watching the race. I was like, that is a beautiful car right there.
It is. That's a good pick. Unexpected. We're going to do what we think is going to be the top 3 teams this season.
Okay. I forgot to think about this. Give me like 2 seconds.
Okay.
Okay. Third, what do you think?
Third,
This is hard. Like,
I am going to say Ferrari. Because they just have 2 really good drivers.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to improve their car as it goes. And with 2 really good drivers, you attain consistency, which is not something that all other teams have. So I think they're going to be third.
As much as I would have also loved to say Red Bull, I think just relying on Max only without knowing the consistency of Liam and seeing what we've seen so far does not make me think, like, compared to like last season, makes me think they're going to do something similar. I'm also going to say Ferrari. I don't think it's going to be perfect because obviously they have some big transitions within the team. We saw that was kind of an issue. We know Ferrari's strategy, but I think they have real potential, and I hope to see them improve soon.
For number 2, I'm going to say Mercedes because I'm a big Mercedes fan. That's been my favorite team since I got into the sport. George Russell is my favorite driver. Toto Wolff is my favorite team principal. I love Kimi. He seems like such a nice kid, and he's just so young and there's so much pressure on him. So I'm really rooting for the success. They're both very talented. The team itself is just so consistent and clever and hardworking that I think they're going to take home P2 in the constructors.
Yeah. Okay, so our answers are not that different because I also thought Mercedes.
Oh no!
For the same reasons, like, they've already shown to be so good, but ultimately, like, although they are tied for first right now, I don't think that they will finish first just because, yeah, Kimi did great, but he's still a rookie.
And Oscar's poor performance
exactly,
was due
like,
to the rain as well.
That's not a usual thing for Oscar. Yeah. So I just think, like, the combination of that. So I think we know what our first choice is.
So we say it on 3?
Just, yeah.
1, 2, 3.
McLaren.
McLaren.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it have been funny if I was like RB?
Yeah.
Like Williams. I would have been a bit of a plot twist.
But I just think, like, they've shown so much consistency, and their car is clearly amazing again this year, and we've seen that they can do it before.
It just seems very unlikely for them to drop the ball.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And next, we're going to do top 3 drivers that we think are going to, like, do well.
Yeah.
I
think this one will have some differences. But I feel like it's so hard to judge because normally once you get into the season, you're like, okay, I have some idea. But we started with such a chaotic race I have no
It's so-
idea.
I
Okay,
know.
you go first.
I don't want to say it.
You go first.
Okay. At my number 3 is my favorite driver, George Russell. I think everyone has always looked at him as a potential world champion, held back by the fact that he makes a lot of stupid mistakes. And so I think this year, hopefully, is finally the year he's ironing them out. I was so scared today during the rain. I was like, oh no, he's going to crash during the last lap again. I know he is. And he didn't. And I'm very proud of him. I think Mercedes seems to have a good car based off testing and everything. I think he's experienced. He's a pretty consistent qualifier. And so I don't know that he's at the level yet to be fighting for the win, but I think he's at a solid number
close.
3.
I think it'll also be really interesting to see George as the number 1 driver this year.
Mhm.
As much as they want to be like, no, we don't have that. You do, and it's George Russell this year. I think that'll be very
As
different.
it should be. He's the one with the experience. He's put in the years.
My third is going to be Oscar Piastri.
Oh, that's a good one.
I was thinking George too, and then I was like, because I was thinking like based on the race, and I was like, no, Oscar was there the whole time. I think the top 2 answers are going to be probably the same. I just don't know the order, but I think he's still got a little bit to go. I mean, he's only in his 3rd season, but he's like such a level-headed driver. When you see like he doesn't make like a lot of like rash mistakes, and I think it's
honestly it's a great pick
to see that in contrast with like Lando, who like does let his emotions get the best of him, which obviously has worked out well for him.
Yeah.
But he's just such a like a level-headed, calm driver. He's so consistent usually. Things like yesterday like are not normal for him, and I would love to see that.
Mm-hmm. At my number 2, I'm going to put Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen is an absolute beast of a driver, and that's why it's so hard not to put him in the number 1 spot, because he is so talented. I just feel if the cars are unequally matched, there's not much he can do. So I'm rooting for him. I've always liked him, but I think he's going to be my number 2.
I'm actually surprised. I thought he was going to be your first. So I'm assuming we also have the same first driver too now.
Yeah.
But
is your number 2 also Max?
Yeah, it is also Max. I agree. I think he's got real potential to win. Obviously, we know he's got a great shot at winning the championship. But we've also seen that with just Max dominance at the beginning of the season. Even last season, he'd already solidified such a big lead. And I think it'll be a lot harder to do that, even though he is like a generational talent. It'll be a lot harder when you're not starting off with a rocket ship compared to everybody else in tractors. Like teams have definitely started to catch up to Red Bull, and I think as they make even more upgrades, in the past, going off like what we've seen, like teams have made upgrades, Red Bull has not improved that much. They've just been so good that they can keep up still. So I think as like more teams, especially McLaren, who we've seen is so good, like make upgrades, it just will be unavoidable. And I think, he'll do well this season. I think it'll be close, but I don't think he's gonna win.
Should we see our number 1?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
Lando Norris.
I think. I mean, sorry.
No, it's okay. I thought we were
like
the full name vibes.
Sorry. But yeah, I think obviously we've seen Lando do amazing.
The car is just so fantastic, and
the driver.
I was gonna say, based off today's performance alone, like we don't know, but he kept such a calm head that mentality paired with the car,
amazing car. McLaren's
feels
really
like a world
up.
champion.
From Oscar, I don't think he like even finished his first race either. I think they were either that or they were in the back of the pack at the beginning of 2023. I remember them struggling so much and then getting to like Silverstone, and all of a sudden they were fast. And this was crazy, but like now they have just done such a good job at that. And I agree, he's like much more like level-headed about it this year. I think
thus far,
like I was saying like last season, like I think it'll be a good experience to be like, I'm getting like really emotionally invested in this. And then once he doesn't achieve it, he can realize that didn't work and then actually be a lot more successful this year. I'd love to see him win a championship. I think it's been, I would say like a long time coming, but also I don't think he was championship material before this.
Yeah.
But I think especially like seeing him like going from Lando no wins to Lando winning the first race of the season and the last race of the season, I just think he's got so much potential. Like him combined with the car and his new hopefully mentality is going to be such like a crazy combination.
I like Lando. I can't say he's my first pick to win a championship, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't clearly deserve one at this point.
See, like ideally I'd pick Lewis to win.
Yeah.
But based on what we're seeing, 2026 will be Ferrari's year. Trust. But this year, I would love to see Lando win. I wanted to see him win last year, but obviously,
I was hoping for a Charles Leclerc World Championship victory this year,
I
but
really want that.
the last one is not
next year
happening right now.
Next year, Ferrari's gonna make a comeback, and Lewis is gonna win, get his 8th World Championship, and once the pressure is off of that, Charles can win the next year.
I hope it's Charles this year, George next year, and then Lewis.
So, anyways, no, Lewis has to get it while he's still semi-young.
Why?
The older he gets, the harder it gets.
Yeah, but then it would be like more of a.
I just want him to get his 8th. But what were we talking about?
I think we're finishing up. We're just doing our top 3.
You know, he did a great job. He deserves it. Oh, I was saying, like, last year, I still wanted him to win, but I'm happy he didn't. This year, I want him to win, and I'll be sad if he doesn't.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, well, yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed this new episode. If you're watching it, we hope you enjoyed this too. If you're listening as usual, that's okay. We're always happy to take it. Please remember to follow us at Cut the Headlights Podcast on Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah.
And we hope you guys had a good time listening.
We will be back next weekend for the Chinese Grand Prix.
Yep.
So very excited.
We'll see you guys there.